Hello, everyone, and welcome to another live episode of the Jedi Way. I know it's been a month since we've done a show, but we are back today. I am one of your hosts. I am the Outlaw, John Rocha. You can call me Rocha Fed for this show, and joined as always by the lovely Laura Kelly. How are you, Laura?
I'm doing fantastic. Yeah, it's been a while since we've done an episode of this show. We took a week off because I needed to prepare for my Schmoedown match, and I very much appreciate the time. We were gonna do it. John was just like, no. Why don't you take the week? It's fine, which I very much appreciate. That it ended up working out quite well. So thank you for that.
Yeah, no, you're more than welcome. Those of us who play at the highest levels of the Schmoedown, we know every hour is precious in training and preparing, because you never know what you study in that 1 hour that could be the difference between you winning and losing. And of course, we're going to talk about that match later on in the show as well. We're going to get into a bunch of other subjects here. We're going to get into a Bad Batch. The Bad Batch now has a release date, the Gina Carano situation, which a lot of you were waiting on us to talk about, and we would have addressed it a couple of weeks ago for sure. But like we said, we took the week off for other business. And of course, the new Padme novel is coming out. And then we'll talk about Ronald D. Moore possibly walking into the Star Wars universe, what that situation will be like. But first, before we start, just a reminder, Streamlabs and Superchats are super encouraged. Those are the things that keep the lights on and help us keep doing all the shows we do here on the Outlaw Nation. I have pinned the address for you Streamlabs there in the chat, so please take a look at that. It's also right above our heads in the middle there, and also in the description of this video as well. So however you want to donate or send in some support and ask your questions, please feel free to do so. And some of you at near the end of the show will get to come in live and ask your questions as well. We always look forward to hearing from you all live and what you have to say about the world of Star Wars. I can't wait to get started. Laura Kelly, where shall we start?
I think we should start with the news that just finally dropped today. The release date for the Bad Batch is going to be May 4th, 2021. So we're a few months away still, but we've been waiting on this for a while. Kind of been expecting it any day now, and so I'm really, really excited that we finally have a release date for it. It looks like Collider broke the story this morning, but maybe by accident. Like they very quickly took down the link as soon as it went up, and then StarWars.com posted their article a little bit later in the day. So yeah, that was pretty funny, but I'm excited. How are you excited for Bad Batch?
Oh, like nobody's business. You know, I know you love Star Wars Rebels, and a lot of people love Clone Wars. I know you enjoy Clone Wars. I love Clone Wars, but this is the John Rocha Star Wars. I mean, the Bad Batch, hardcore guys, military guys, off base a little bit, not 100% normal. This speaks all of my language, and I loved the opening of season 7 with those, I think, 4 episodes we got with the Bad Batch. That was awesome to enjoy, get to know those characters a little bit more. And I even said after it was done, and maybe on the show or one of my other shows, I said, I want to see an animated series. And then they announced it at the Disney shareholders event, and or the investor event, and that was such a great thing to hear. And now we're getting it so quickly. Laura, things are starting to go, the wheels were slow moving towards the end of 2020 because of COVID and the holidays and what have you. But now as we enter into February, March, the wheels are starting to grind a little bit faster, and all this content is now coming towards us. And you say the first episode drops May 4th, the second episode May 7th. So they're not even waiting a whole week, Laura. It's seriously one right on top of each other. Are you excited about how quickly we're about to get into March, and March will be gone, April will be gone, and boom, we're here. We're ready for the Bad Batch. This is great news.
Yeah, this is really exciting, especially since we have Marvel stuff coming to Disney Plus here in the next coming months as well. I'm really excited for Bad Batch. I love that, May the 4th, sort of known as Star Wars Day.
Of course.
This year it's going to be Star Wars Week, because we get 2 episodes of the Bad Batch in the first week. I think we're getting a book that week too, because May the 4th is a Tuesday, so usually there's books that drop that day. So I think that's coming as well. But it's going to be an exciting year, I think. It's so nice to finally have some official news about something. We've been hearing like rumblings of like the Kenobi show is sort of gearing up to start filming, I think, soon. We know that Andor's filming in London, and we just don't have any official dates for anything specific yet. So this is kind of the first concrete thing we've gotten in a while. I'm very excited. Star Wars animation, I'm obviously a huge fan, so I'm pumped for this. It's going to be great. We got a great intro to the Bad Batch in the first 4 episodes of season 7 of the Clone Wars.
Right.
And yeah, we did an episode, our episode 12 of the Jedi Way. We covered that entire arc, and then we talked about the trailer for the Bad Batch as well.
Yeah. It seems like that was a lifetime ago, and now we're here on the precipice, a couple of months away of this thing dropping and seeing what the storylines are going to be. Do you anticipate we'll get another trailer that's even more indicative of the storylines we're going to be seeing, or do you think there'll be just one smaller, maybe 1 minute teaser, and then we'll start the series? What do you think's coming?
I can't remember how long the first trailer was, but I have a feeling that we'll get another one. I'm hoping that we're going to get to see a little bit more of Fennec Shand, maybe get a couple of lines from her, or maybe just get some kind of hint as to like, where is she in her life and her career as a bounty hunter? Because that's probably the number one character I'm most excited to see at this point. So I'm excited for that. I definitely think that another trailer is in the works. Maybe we even get a clip from like the first episode at some point. That would be nice.
Yeah, that's not a bad idea. I mean, we've seen with WandaVision, and of course, this is Disney. It's all under the umbrella of Disney, but we've seen WandaVision drop these 1 minute teasers in between dropping the episodes of the show. Even though the show is like tracking at high numbers, they're still dropping those little 1 minute teasers to get people through the week and get them excited for the drop of that show. But by the way, as we're recording this, tomorrow night at midnight, it will drop the next episode of WandaVision. So quickly happening everything in the world of entertainment for all of us. And this will be great too, because I think you're right. Obviously May 4th, obviously all of that's happening here, but I think people want to feel positive again. You know what I'm saying? There's been some kind of, we'll talk about that in our next subject here, but there's been, some kind of division again amongst the Star Wars fans. So getting something out here that we can all get behind and enjoy, on the heels of The Mandalorian, I think that's all positive overall for the Star Wars universe.
For sure. It's going to be nice to sort of break the tension a little bit with something fun, because odds are, not everybody who watched The Mandalorian is going to watch The Bad Batch, but
good point. Yeah.
The people who are going to watch it are fans of Star Wars animation already. They're fans of the Clone Wars. They know what they're getting into. Yeah. And I mean, Clone Wars fans are so enthusiastic. I mean, look at what we got. We got season 7 because Clone Wars fans wouldn't shut up about it. So I think that people are going to be really excited for this. I think they're going to knock it out of the park. We've got Dave Filoni, I think, is one of the executive producers. So it's going to land for sure. Yeah,
and maybe you and I'll have a conversation off camera about possibly doing reviews of this. Maybe we'll bring the Geek Buddies onto the Jedi Way and make them Jedi Way reviews with the 4 of us. I think that's a way to cross synergy. What do you call that? Synergy, I think, is what they call it. So yeah, let's we'll see, but we'll definitely be doing some form of review, either talking about it or all of us getting together here on the Jedi Way to talk about it all and break it down, because all of us are looking forward to it. And so many of you enjoyed the Geek Buddies, the Mandalorian reviews that we did with Laura Kelly that were so well received. So why not keep going down that path and exploring these? And how many episodes do we know this is going to be, Laura? Is it like 10 to 12 or is it a full 20? What do they anticipate for the Bad Batch?
Ooh, I'm sure I knew this at one point, but off the top of my head, I'm not sure. I would guess how many was the Clone Wars? Was it 8? I think no, it was 12, because we had 3 arcs of 4 episodes. So I would guess that it would be the same, probably another 12 episodes. Right. But yeah, that's just my assumption.
I think that's a safe assumption to make. You don't want to go too far out. We can't gone are the days of 24 episode seasons or 22 episode seasons in animated series. Yeah, I don't see it here, but I imagine that's that seems like the right amount for sure. Let us know what you all there. Are you guys excited about a Bad Batch coming in? Are you ready for it now? I mean, you may think it's a ways away, but as I said, we're right around the corner from March. I bet we're going to rip through March quickly. It feels like we ripped through January and February quickly, and here we go, careening down the path with so much happening in the world of entertainment for sure. Let us know in the comments section, or send in a Streamlabs or a super chat. And speaking of which, Larry Lee says, I can't make it, but I love you all, love the show, and guys, smash that like button. Yeah, for sure. We have over 116 of y'all watching, almost 120 of y'all watching right now live. Please hit that like button. Give it some love here. The thumbs up button, that's the like button in case it's the first time on YouTube. That's the like button there for sure. Anything more to add on this one, Laura, or shall we jump into the next topic? Oh, no, I'm sorry.
Let's start.
Sorry, we got a couple of Streamlabs. Sorry about that, Laura.
Oh, cool.
I should have checked before I asked you. Jason Earhart, he sent one. Thank you, Jason. He said, glad I get to watch this live tonight. Thanks, John and Laura, for being such great people. Oh, you're very kind, Jason. What are your definitely. What are your thoughts on the rumor / unconfirmed report that Mina Masood could be Ezra? #Outlaw Nation for life. Yeah, Laura, I know you've had your how can I say, your eyes or your desire on someone else stepping in the role of Ezra. What do you think about Mina Massoud and the rumor that he might be stepping in? For those who may not know, he was the lead in the live action Aladdin film that came out 2 years ago or a year and a half ago. What do you think, Laura?
I'm excited for this. I like this rumor. I like this idea that he would be stepping into this role. I was really excited about the possibility of, I'm not sure how to pronounce his first name, Rahul Kohli, from Bly Manor, I know was the recent show he was on. And I remember thinking, like, if this is going to be set during the Mandalorian time period, he might be a little bit too old to be playing the character. But at the same time, age really doesn't matter in Star Wars because we've got the whole, like, Bo-Katan and Katie Sackhoff, like that doesn't really line up. It's a lot of places it doesn't line up. It's
Tamora Morrison, it doesn't line up. That's for sure.
Yeah, for sure. So I think that wouldn't have been as big of a deal, but I think Mina Massoud is definitely better aged for the character. I think I really enjoyed him as Aladdin. I liked the live action Aladdin remake. I thought it was really fun. I was surprised how much I enjoyed Will Smith as the genie. But I was really surprised to hear after that movie came out that actor was having problems getting auditions and finding roles and landing roles. And I thought that was so surprising because I thought he really did a great job. So I'm excited to hear that he's got something in the works, at least potentially. This is just a rumor at this point, but I am excited about it. What about you?
Yeah, absolutely. 1,000% excited about it. Just like you. Went into Aladdin. I didn't know what to expect. I certainly didn't think I was going to enjoy it necessarily. And then I just had a really great time. And he was one of the big reasons why. It's difficult. It's very difficult to transfer a animated character into a live action situation and retain the energy of that animated character so purely. And I thought Mina Massoud really did that. He was believable. He was sympathetic. He was fun to watch. And there was genuine chemistry between him and the lead actress as they went forward. And yes, you're right. Will Smith was great with him as well. Those scenes out in the desert between the two of them were really, really funny. And that speaks volumes to Mina Massoud's ability to go toe-to-toe with someone like Will Smith, who's very seasoned and experienced on the big screen. So to see him stepping into this role, I would be excited about it. I'm nervous about a live action Ezra. I'm not going to lie to you. I liked that he was just out there somewhere doing his thing. Now you're going to bring him in from out there somewhere. And that makes me a little bit nervous, Laura. Any trepidation on your end about, a live action Ezra Bridger?
I think I was more inclined to be excited about an older Ezra, just because I love Last Jedi Luke. I love the older, sort of cynical, a little bit more grizzled character portrayal of Luke Skywalker. So I was really excited to sort of get an older, more experienced, not quite as annoying as the animated character was. Right. I'll be curious to see how they play this. And I think a lot of it is going to kind of depend on time period. And who knows, how time works in wild space or wherever in the hell they are with Thrawn and what Thrawn has put him through. I imagine I imagine he's going to be a little bit more hardened is sort of what I'm thinking for the character. But I'm not sure. And I'm excited to see what they do.
Yeah, that's a great point you bring up. A more grizzled Ezra might be more interesting. But if you compare the animated Aladdin character to Ezra Bridger in Star Wars Rebels, there are similarities in the wide-eyed, at times, naivete or innocence, but also the hard scrabble beginnings of both of them. And maybe they felt Mina Massoud did such a good job bringing that character of Aladdin to life, live action, that he'd do just as good of a job bringing Ezra Bridger. If it's true, it's just a rumor. We don't know for sure. It hasn't been confirmed. But yeah, that's a little bit more of a innocent, playful, wide-eyed approach versus a more grizzled approach. And so you make a good point. I would rather have seen a grizzled Ezra, but if Bo-Katan and Rosario Dawson are your leads, it's really hard to find a dude that's going to be able to go toe-to-toe with those two ladies. So, but your original one that you were looking at would have been able to. So maybe they want the ladies to be more the focus of that series and Ezra be kind of a little bit more in the background. And so you cast someone like Mina Massoud, who doesn't necessarily command attention over those two ladies, but can certainly hang with those two ladies. Maybe that's their approach to it. We shall see. All right. And we all know you're actually a grizzled veteran inside. That's why you like those grizzled veterans, Lo.
I'm a cynic. What can I say?
Yeah, no, I like that. Kay Walton donated, says, Cara Dune should be recast. What better way to erase Carano completely by replacing her with a better actress? The Bad Batch seemed ridiculously OP in their arc, so hope they are more complex in their show. I didn't think they were ridiculously OP. I liked that they were doing their thing and kind of felt like the Expendables in Star Wars with better writing and better acting. I liked that vibe to it myself personally, but I appreciate your opinion. And we'll answer the Gina Carano question next, I think. Laura, shall we jump into it?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right. Well, as many of you already know, I'm sure, if you're watching the show, Gina Carano, 2 weeks to the day they were talking about it today, was fired by Disney for a couple of posts that she put on her Instagram. I have copied that picture and I've saved it on my phone forever because I never want to forget that. It was such a horrifically terrible post that she put up comparing being a Republican to being a Jewish person during the Holocaust. These were the comparisons that she made in her Instagram post, and these were apparently, because there was a second post as well, that these two posts just kind of finally pushed Disney into a position where they had to let Gina Carano go as the character of Cara Dune from The Mandalorian. But they released a really interesting and quizzical statement, Laura. They said Gina Carano is not currently employed by Lucasfilm, and there are no plans for her to be in the future. Nevertheless, her social media posts denigrating people based on their cultural and religious identities are abhorrent and unacceptable. This prompted that hashtag Fire Gina Carano tag again on Twitter for like the third or fourth time since she's posted some really controversial things. And in the end, that was finally enough for Disney to let her go. Then UTA let her go. And then over the weekend, she sat down with extreme right-wing pundit Ben Shapiro, and they had a conversation about it. And she revealed all these supposed details, that there was an email that was accidentally sent to her, that she was bullied by Disney, that she won't be bullied anymore, and that she's going to be doing a film with Ben Shapiro that they are crowdfunding in essence. So there was a lot of this. To me, felt like this was planned out weeks or months ahead of time, because all these pieces seem to fall into place. And by planned out, I mean on Gina Carano's side, not on Disney's side necessarily. What was your reaction to all of this? Because we haven't talked about it at all on the Jedi Way. What was your feeling all through this process?
It definitely felt pre-planned. And it was one of those things where I sort of suspected when this Gizmodo article broke the story that she'd been let go. Right. The phrasing is really interesting from Lucasfilm. And it made me think that there's a chance that this had been a done deal a long time ago, that she would not be returning for season 3 of The Mandalorian. Okay. Maybe not a long time ago, but certainly didn't happen the day of that we learned this information. I think it had already been done at that point. And I wonder if they had planned to just sort of like not address it and just like release season 3 and have no Cara Dune in it and just provide no I'm like, were they just planning to fly under the wire on that? I'm not totally certain what the move was there. But once Fire Gina Carano was trending, I think worldwide, if I recall, certainly they had to speak up and speak out about something. Yeah,
this was something that was coming, though, right? I mean, like you said earlier, it felt like Disney had already maybe made some moves behind the scenes without saying anything to anybody publicly, and maybe they were just waiting for a reason. Certainly an unnamed source in one of these articles was quoted as saying Disney was waiting for a reason to fire her. And in the end, Gina Carano gave them that reason with that post. And I don't care what anybody says. This isn't about difference of political opinion. That's how her side of the fence is twisting things and spinning that narrative that somehow because she didn't go along with the groupthink of the quote unquote left or the liberals in Hollywood. By the way, there are not as many liberals as you think in Hollywood, ladies and gentlemen. If you don't live here, you don't really know. There are a lot of conservatives in Hollywood, more than you actually think, especially when you talk about producers and directors and people with the money. You start to find more conservatives on that side of the fence. So this whole idea that it was because she had different points of view, that was, I think, a complete and utter spin job. It's that she kept pushing forward, pushing the boundaries, pushing against Disney. And apparently it came out, Laura, that she had been warned on 3 separate occasions, and she had said, I will stop doing it. She understood that she was pushing the boundaries and then agreed to stop doing and then violated it every single time. So at some point, this isn't about them silencing her. This is them about having an employee who has been warned 3 times. You know, you and I have worked at regular jobs. We get written up 3 times. It's rare that you keep your job. You know, so do you believe any of the spin that she's doing now that Disney bullied her, that she won't be silenced, and this is the only people that Disney has bullied? What do you think about her response to it all?
I think she believes it. I don't know if I believe it.
Fair point.
I think the thing is that, you know, people are pushing back and saying, yes, you know, because she's a Republican, she got fired for that reason. And yeah, you make a good point. That was not the reason.
Yeah.
You know, she wasn't fired because she is, you know, hoping that there are fewer regulations on climate control. You know, there's just, that's not what she was fighting. I mean, she was speaking out against mask wearing during a pandemic. She was the Holocaust post on Instagram was really just the final straw. This has been building for a while. As I understand it, there was like maybe a sensitivity training or something that was done, some sort of panel discussion that was done for her, and she still didn't seem to get it. So I think that this was a long time coming. I'm glad it finally happened. But yeah, I think that this Ben Shapiro thing has been it looked a little bit too well produced to have been thrown together quickly. So I think that this may have been in the works for a while. Yeah,
and this is the part that I come back to. Listen, I was a massive Gina Carano fan when she was in the MMA, when she was doing American Gladiators. I thought she was, kind of carving out her niche. And of course, she's a beautiful woman as well. So naturally, my eyes go to her and see, okay, what can you do? What can you create? And then when she kind of did Haywire for Steven Soderbergh, I thought she was okay in the movie, or okay to good at times. And the fight scenes were incredible, but then they had to redub her entire dialogue. Laura San Giacomo, for those you may know from Pretty Woman and other projects, she had to come in and essentially dub her dialogue for the entire movie. And then from there, she was gone doing like Street Fighter 7 or something. She wasn't really doing any projects that were up there in the A-list, B-list territory, even that could get you the kind of recognition that you need to do to be successful in this business. And then she gets The Mandalorian. Essentially, Filoni and Favreau plucked her out, put her into this position. And the first year, great. And then the second year, somewhere around 2020, she started to become more politically active, more passive-aggressively politically active, purposely poking, purposely making fun. This wasn't just different points of view. You can certainly express different points of view, but there's a way to do it where you're looking to instigate a reaction, and there's a way to do it where you're looking to instigate thoughtful conversation. And it seemed for a majority of her posts, they were, because I follow her still on Instagram just to keep tabs on the things she said. She blocked me on Twitter, but like, because and then Pedro Pascal followed me on the same day, which is really interesting. But she made fun of she made fun of the pronoun situation, and she tried to beg off on that. She actually deleted the Holocaust tweet. So that tells you there that even in that moment, she was trying to escape a little bit of responsibility for what she did, and then turned around and defended. So there was a lot of confusing behavior throughout this, but it seemed like people had gotten to her and were laying out a path for her to be let go by the Mandalorian so she can play victim and then turn that into success for her to fill in the money that she was going to be losing on the Mandalorian by being part of this right-wing conservative movement to supposedly vilify Hollywood.
Playing the victim is the most disturbing part of this. It's really disgusting. It's truly disgusting. I mean, there's no other way to put it. That it's just absolutely pathetic that she would go this way. It's also not surprising though. Like I didn't watch the Ben Shapiro interview. I'm not going to watch it. I saw somebody post an article that was called "I watched the Ben Shapiro articles or interview, so you don't have to." I got to go back and check that out so I can kind of get the download on it. But it's. I don't feel sorry for her at all. And the people who are still out here screaming about cancel culture, that's not it. That's not it. This is consequence culture.
Yeah, that's the difference. Consequence culture versus cancel culture. Great point, Laura. Yeah, sorry.
Yes. Yeah. No, she stepped in it and she's got to pay for it. So that's where we are. And I don't feel sorry for her. She had so many opportunities to change her tune and didn't. So here we are.
Yeah, and like any job, and I just said earlier, like any job, if you keep, I mean, I couldn't tweet 2 things that she tweeted and keep the jobs that I do freelancing wise. There's no way I could do that. I would lose followers overnight with some of the insensitivity that she showed with some of those posts. So let alone have a job at Disney, ladies and gentlemen, whatever they do behind the scenes is whatever. That's a business, and you can feel upset about what they do behind the scenes if you want, but you're representing the brand when you're out front as a character for their premiere franchise, Star Wars, that they bought for $4 billion. The last thing they want is someone who's going to constantly rattle the cage. And it feels like, Laura, that they gave her multiple chances, multiple opportunities. Even she alluded to the fact that Filoni and Favreau apparently possibly went to bat for her, but in the end, it wasn't enough. And Lucasfilm and Disney decided to move on without her. And now we're hearing that she's going to be, it's not even going to be recast, that they might not even recast Cara Dune. A Lucasfilm source said that. What's your reaction to that situation?
I'm sort of surprised because this Cara Dune was a very cool character. The Alderaan angle of her backstory was really interesting. If you gotten a better actress, you maybe could have dove into that a little bit deeper. We could have explored that some more. We don't have enough female representation in Star Wars as it is. And the fact that we're just going to axe this character and not recast. I mean, maybe they're going to bring in like a different character altogether, which is fine. But you would think like, well, they have the action figures, they have the designs, just cast an actress that looks like her. Like it seems like a no-brainer to me. And the fact that you're going to open up season 3 anywhere close to where season 2 ended, you're going to need to provide some explanation as to why she's suddenly not on Giancarlo Esposito's ship on that show. So it'll be interesting to see how they handle it. But this has been, it's been quite the roller coaster. And it was really interesting that we were supposed to do an episode the day that this whole thing came out. And that's what can you do?
I remember texting Laura. I was like, can you believe it? On the day we decided to take the day off is the day when this all drops and this all happens. But we got to it eventually this week. And also, like, people may not know this, but they were certainly going to announce her as the star of her own show in December during that Investors Day presentation that we already alluded to with the Bad Batch trailer that was dropped that day as well. But she had gotten in trouble with these tweets in November. The beep bop boop tweets got her in trouble in November, and that caused a bunch of issues for Disney as well. And so they couldn't announce the show with her. So I just don't understand. I mean, she comes from what I'm doing more research with her. She comes from money. Her family is really well off there. They have stakes in Vegas, some hotels in Vegas. So they're doing fine financially, the family overall. Maybe she felt, well, I'm going to make this move. I'm coming into my own politically. This is what I believe. So I'm going to make this situation untenable and then use that as a springboard to now become this symbol on the right for what can happen to you if you supposedly speak out. Never mind that Tim Allen has a series going for the last 20 years. He's had a series in Hollywood working just fine. Kelsey Grammer works all the time. Certainly James Woods worked all the time until recently. John Voight still gets cast all the time, and he's a hardcore Republican. So this idea that Hollywood is trying to silence conservatives or Republicans is all just made up, to use an old term word, poppycock, because there is, if you're talented and you can bring people in, they will cast you. It's not a big deal. And I think she's going to find in the long run, I believe, and I could be wrong, but I believe in the long run, she's going to find that she made a mistake here that was devastating to her career, possibly. And Ben Shapiro can fund one film, but you were looking at extended work, possibly consistent extended work for years in the Star Wars universe, Laura. We could have seen her in feature films as a character in feature films. I mean, that scene with her and Ming-Na Wen and Ahsoka, like all of them coming together. I mean, sorry, not Ahsoka, but Ming-Na Wen and her coming together. That was pretty badass, seeing some more of these ladies in Star Wars doing their thing. And I think I agree with you. Not recasting her is a big deal. And I think finding someone else to slide into that role would have been the right move. I mean, they've recast stuff in Disney all the time. Iron Man, Terrence Howard recast, Don Cheadle taking his spot. So why not do it here? You make an excellent point. not having one more female character that they lose here when they need more female characters in the Star Wars universe.
Exactly. Yeah. And I remember reading that the rumor that she was supposed to be making like $30,000 an episode, either on this Rangers of the High Republic or on Mandalorian. And like, imagine throwing that away. Like, she must come from money if that was like nothing to her to just do that. Insane. Yeah. And for what? To work with Ben Shapiro.
I know. That's the thing, which is a statement in a moment, but you got to think long term. And long term, it's not sustainable because eventually, I don't know. I just don't think it's sustainable for a life and a career if you're looking to actually make it in this business and leave a legacy in this business. I don't know. Maybe she's got designs on other things. Maybe she's got political designs to be a senator or a representative or something. Certainly, we'll see down the road. She's still young.
Yikes.
There's the Laura genuine reaction there, ladies and gentlemen. Well, look who we got in here. Molly Damon is hanging out with us. She said, if I had to lose, losing to Laura is who I'd want to lose to, with a wink and a black heart. Says hashtag the Maverick will return. Yeah, Molly, I don't know. You got nothing to hang your head about. Laura, what's your reaction to her super chat here?
Oh, I have no doubt that the Maverick will return. I'm so excited that they finally announced that there's going to be 2 Star Wars tournaments. I'm pumped to see what Molly does with this new character. I think she's going to have a lot of fun with the dungeon because Kaiser is just absolutely hilarious. So it's going to be... I think it's going to be a fun year for her. I'm excited. And it was really fun. And I remember thinking the same thing. I'm like, if I have to lose, I don't mind. I would rather go down at the hands of Molly Damon than really anybody else. So yeah, it was an honor.
Yeah, and we'll get to that match in a little bit for sure, ladies and gentlemen. We got over 240 y'all watching us live right now. Please hit that like button. Send in some Streamlabs super chats. I know you're enjoying the conversation, or else you'd have left by now. So thank you so much. But please hit that like button, that thumbs up button. But also send in some support. Send in your questions. Send in your Streamlabs and your super chats, please. We put the link is posted here, pinned in the chat. It's also right above me and Laura's heads. And it's in the description as well. And later on, we'll bring some of y'all in live. Sean Barretta, who is producing us today, he will put the link in the chat, and y'all will be able to come in live and ask your questions. Of course, Outlaw Nation patrons at the $10 above level get first dibs, and then everyone after that. All right, we'll see what happens with this Laura. I mean, she spoke. She also, kind of outed Pedro Pascal with a couple of things, going after a guy that she claims she's friends with. And made it seem as if she forgave him for the stuff he did. It's just mind-blowing because Pedro I've met him a couple of times. I've interviewed him once. A genuinely nice dude. So it seems weird to kind of throw the lead of your show, who you just got fired off of, under the bus as well, and then claim you're being magnanimous by forgiving him for some of the things that he tweeted, which were more accurate, in my opinion.
That's an unbelievable attempt at a spin. Like, wow.
Agreed. Like, what's your thinking on that one? All right, let's see here, and let's see if we got any more. Okay, no more Streamlabs and super chats so far, so let's move on to our next. Anything more to say on this, Laura? Anything more to touch base on here? Or I think we're good.
No, I'm certainly happy to leave it in the past.
Fair enough. I agree with you. All right, what are we moving on to next?
Well, next we want to talk about this Padme Amidala novel that is going to be coming out in November. This is really exciting. Star Wars Queen's Hope is written by E.K. Johnston. This is the 3rd book in a series of YA novels that she's written about Padme Amidala. I think we kind of always assumed it was going to be a trilogy, but I don't know if we ever knew that for sure. But this is the 3rd and final book, Queen's Hope. And I think this is going to be really cool. I love the interview that StarWars.com posted about this because it gave some really interesting insight. I know that we talked on Force Toast quite a few times about what we were kind of hoping to see from what we assumed would be a 3rd book eventually. Yeah. And a lot of this kind of hits the nail on the head for me. It sounds like we're going to be getting a mid Clone Wars at some point story where Sabe is going to have to step in for an extended period and serve as senator, while Padme goes on an extended absence somewhere to some mission off world. But I'm really excited about this because it also sounds like Anakin is going to be playing some role in it. It doesn't sound like it's going to be a huge role. And I'm excited to sort of see what E.K. Johnston's take is with him, because she's sort of famously tweeted things that have indicated that she's not a huge fan of Anakin Skywalker just as a character.
Yeah.
So I think this is going to be an interesting play. She sort of describes him as like, you know, in this book, like this book is about Padme. It is not really about him. He's just there as the love interest.
Mm-hmm.
So I think he's going to be sort of used as more like a boy toy or plot device or something. Like I can't wait to see whatever she does, because I think it's just going to be hilarious probably. But yeah, I think this is going to be an interesting story, because we're talking about, you know, Anakin, who excels in the Clone Wars, as we saw in the show, as a, you know, as a general and as the sort of poster boy for the Republic in during the Clone Wars period, but how Padme was very much against the war from the start, and against forming an army to fight against the Separatists, and wanted to always look for the diplomatic solution. So their relationship alone is really interesting to see. I'm excited to dive deeper into it, because what we got on screen in the prequel movies didn't necessarily always land with me, specifically because of the dialogue. But I think that when we dive deeper in the books with these two characters, it tends to be a lot more interesting. We saw Timothy Zahn do it in the first canon Thrawn trilogy that he did, book 2, centered a lot on Panakin is what I said. Padme and Anakin.
Oh, damn.
Their nom de plume is, what is it? It's Annie Dalla. It's not
Is it?
Panakin.
Oh, okay. I don't think it works either way, but all right, go ahead. I think this is great, Laura, to be honest with you, because this is another approach to Padme that I think is essential and important. You know, we know what Natalie Portman went through in portraying her, and what it did to her emotionally and mentally at the time. Of course, she's recovered from that, and she's incredibly successful doing the things that she's doing, being Oscar nominated and what have you, and multiple projects producing. You know, it's really kind of putting a proud step forward as an actress and a business person here in Hollywood. But you turn around, you look at Padme, and you're like, well, we've seen Anakin essentially get redeemed in the Clone Wars. Why doesn't Padme deserve this kind of treatment? So at least in the novelization approach to Star Wars, there will be more, there's been more fleshing out of her, character, her stories, her own moves. And I love what E.K. Johnson said, Anakin's a bit of a downer. Everything he touches dies. And so that's a great approach to it, because you want to kind of put him in that box there for now, so that you can have more life given to Padme, more depth given to her character, more complexity given to how she handles her world. And that allows us to appreciate her as a human being, appreciate her as a character a bit more, like we did with Anakin. Ahsoka is so essential to us appreciating Anakin or understanding Anakin, or feeling the turn at a deeper level when it happens. And by the same token here, having Anakin just be the love interest, it's nice to have the tables turned and we can enjoy Padme, and then occasionally a little Anakin stuff here, but it's Padme that we're focusing on, and her other doubles, for lack of a better term, who sit in for her. And we just talked about how needing more female characters, giving these other characters as well a little more adventures, a little more storylines, and hopefully at some point they end up in an animated series. They end up in some form on a Disney Plus TV series. I would love to see more with Padme, because she is essentially one of the least written about, or least known about, characters that we've had as a main character in the Star Wars universe. Am I off on that? Or do you think that's true? Okay.
I think that's totally accurate, because, you know, we got some decent, I guess, sort of information about her in the Clone Wars animated series, but these books have really solidified it for me, like how badass she was and how badass all of her handmaidens are. Right. We've got kind of the hint in the Phantom Menace of them saying like, oh, you know, this is Sabe, she's my loyal bodyguard. But I didn't really understand the extent of it. Reading book 2 of this trilogy, Queen's Peril, they really dive into like how, where, and when all of the handmaidens were recruited for acting as doubles and being the security team for Padme Amidala, as she had, you know, was recently elected queen. Yeah. It's sort of a prequel to book 1, which is Queen Shadow, where we're sort of covering like after the Phantom Menace. That's the period of her rule, I guess, after her election as queen. The first book, the epilogue, is really, really good. It jumps ahead in the story, and it was just one of those things that that really got me excited for the rest of this trilogy. And I'm kind of wondering how closely book 3 is going to connect back to the epilogue of book 1.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, but I think this is going to be really fun. I'm always excited to hear more about Sabe too. She has been very, very interesting to learn about in these books, to the point where I'm like constantly questioning, like, why was she not in the Clone Wars? I don't understand why she wasn't in that show. But yeah, I'm excited to learn more about her. I know that she showed up in some of the like Darth Vader comics that are out.
Yes.
Some of the more recent ones that have come out. So yeah, this will be fun, I think, to dive back into this universe. And they're all young adult novels, so they're fairly quick reads. If you're looking to get caught up, you have plenty of time between now and November 2nd to do so.
Yeah. And we'll even get a little Mon Mothma action up in this thing. So a lot of stuff to explore for sure. So I love this idea. And it's a great way to kind of have some more appreciation for the character of Padme. Ladies and gentlemen, Star Wars is never ending, and there are so much to explore when these characters come and leave a mark. And so you hope they're put into the right hands of these authors who bring them to life in new and interesting ways. And I just love that she called Anakin a downer, because he kind of is. What can you say? What can you say? All right, let's see if we got any more. No Streamlabs Super Chats. If you can, send them in, ladies and gentlemen. We definitely want to answer any questions you have about the galaxy far, far away. We'd love to get into it with you all for sure. All right, our next story here is the story about Ronald D. Moore, and this is coming to us from the Hollywood Reporter. This is so interesting. He just did For All Mankind, which I think was on Apple TV Plus, the space series, if I'm correct on that. But they are apparently Disney is teaming with Ron Moore for another project, or for a bunch of projects. The first project in the works is part of the so-called Magic Kingdom universe, which is the Society of Explorers and Adventurers. It's set in a world where all the themed lands and characters of the Disney parks and classic films actually exist in another reality, essentially creating a Magic Kingdom universe. I never thought in my lifetime I would be saying anything like that, but certainly he was asked about coming back to the world, or coming to the world of Star Wars to write and do stuff for Star Wars, and certainly walking in and working with Disney on a series there at Disney Plus kind of opens the door for the possibility of it all. And he said he'd love to come and do something with Star Wars. Of course, he did Battlestar Galactica as well. People loved that series, Laura. And this would seem to be a little bit more, again, of a darker, mature approach to Star Wars. Would you want to see Ronald D. Moore coming through the halls of Star Wars and writing something for them?
Yeah, it sounds interesting. Unfortunately, I'm not very familiar with his prior work. Battlestar Galactica is one of those shows that everybody tells me that I would love. So I'll take the time to watch it at some point. But yeah, I haven't gotten there yet. But I think this is going to be really exciting, because Star Wars Underworld was the show that he was writing or working on, I think, with George Lucas 10 plus years ago, and looked really interesting. It looked really intriguing. And I think it would have been really cool. So I think this is going to be sort of a fun add to the Disney family. Nothing has been announced, obviously, but the fact that he expressed interest, he's already going to have some proximity to Disney. I think it's a no-brainer that we'll probably see him involved in Star Wars at some point.
That's quote is he said, "It's always something that's on my mind, but clearly they have their Star Wars plate full at the moment. I'm not sure this is the moment that you go in and pitch a new Star Wars series over there. I would love to do something in that franchise. It was fun to go to work on the abortive live action show that I did way back when. I got a tremendous amount of thrill of writing lines for Darth Vader, one episode, and it would be fun to do that again. It's not just the first piece of development I'm doing over there, but hopefully I'll be allowed to do that at some point." So yeah, you make a great point. The Underworld stuff, I mean, according to Lucas, if I remember correctly, they had written like 50 some scripts for that series. They were ready to go with a bunch of episodes for that series before it was aborted, as Ronald eloquently expresses, and it didn't end up happening. But that doesn't mean that there haven't been shades of that series throughout Star Wars ever since. Certainly Rogue One had that kind of vibe of the, kind of the criminal underworld and what's happening there, and spies and what have you. And we'll probably get more of that in the Andor series for sure. So there are possibilities to explore here. And as we get a little bit grittier, certainly Bad Batch is going to be a little bit grittier. As we start to expand out with more Star Wars content, and eventually you're going to have to start bringing in some more mature, harder approaches to it. For sure. You know, they already approved Deadpool on the Marvel side of things under the Disney banner, going R-rated with Deadpool 3. Do you think there's any chance down the road we would get something in the vein of an R-rated series, kind of like Battlestar Galactica kind of was on the TV side of things? Do you think that's possible with someone like Ronald D. Moore? Would you want to see that?
With the Disney streaming stuff, maybe. I don't know if there's ever going to be like an R-rated Star Wars film. Like theatrically released. I think it's too closely associated with like children's media, and I just don't see that. I think that, you know, Star Wars is already branching out. They're doing things with like, I think that Star Wars Vision series is going to be like an anime sort of series. So that's going to be really interesting to see them branching into some sort of different medium, but I don't know if I see it. What I would love to see it. I would love to see like a darker take on a Star Wars film or series in some way. But I just don't think it's going to happen, unfortunately. I think Marvel's in sort of they're in a different boat for whatever reason. I can't really explain why, but they are.
All right. Sorry, I'm letting Sean know to put the link in the chat now. Put it in the Discord. Put it in the chat for people to come in live. Yeah, I think it's possible. And Rogue One. I imagine there's a cut of Rogue One that's R-rated, Laura. Maybe that's my fantastical point of view, but from that first trailer, and I've gone back and rewatched that first trailer a number of times, and I know there was a darker R-rated story they were trying to tell. And eventually they couldn't. Certainly, there are some moments in The Mandalorian that get kind of close to crossing that PG-13 line with some of the violence or some of the stuff going on there. So it's possible, but you might be 100% right. Maybe Disney's not ready to make that move yet. Maybe they feel it would maybe sully the brand a little bit if you had an R-rated Star Wars movie. But I mean, Rogue One, everybody dies at the end, Laura. And Darth Vader he's slicing people up on the ceiling. Like, it's pretty brutal. That's what I mean. It's as close to R as you're going to. If there was any blood, I imagine they would have gone into R territory if you'd seen any blood from them getting cut up, don't you think?
I mean, imagine if they had dropped like a dank ferric in Rogue One. Like, then you really would have crossed a line.
I feel like, Asajj Ventress, she's pretty brutal when she wants to be. You could explore that as well. You know, Dark Disciple could go R-rated if you wanted to, don't you think? I don't know.
100%. Yeah. I would love to see an R-rated Dark Disciple adaptation. I have no problem with that. I think it'd be awesome.
Molly, what do you think? You're in the chat, Molly. Do you think we could get an R-rated Star Wars situation? What do you say? Let us know here in the chat. I'll watch out for it. Let me bring in one of our patrons here on the Outlaw Nation. We've put the link in the chat in the Discord for the $10 above Outlaw Nation people. And now we're opening the doors after that for some of you to come in live as well. Look for the link in the chat. Jason Earhart, you're waiting to come in. What's up, Jason? How are you, dude?
Hey, guys. How you doing?
Good. Let me take you down.
Jason.
There you go.
It's good. It's honestly, I just want to say I know Molly's in the chat too, so I want to shout out to both you and to Molly and Laura. That was a phenomenal match Friday. I honestly had a very hard time of picking that match because I love both of you so much. I think both of you have such great character work. And honestly, Laura, when your entrance was amazing. I was loving it. I honestly thought it was the best one. We honestly had a nice discussion in the Patreon channel about the matches of both of the whole thing, and I just honestly, that was my favorite part of that whole entire match, other than you winning, of course. But it was just it was a great match, and I have to throw it off to you. 100% going like pitching a perfect game. Honestly, yay, good job. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm very proud of my gameplay from last Friday, so thanks.
Go ahead, Jason.
Go ahead, John.
No, I was just going to say we'll get into that in just a little bit. But go ahead, Jason. Ask your question, my man.
So my question is for honestly, you guys talked on a lot with Mina Masad earlier. I'm sorry if I butcher his name. No. I like you guys. I loved the live action Aladdin. I thought it was amazing, and I'm super excited for Ezra. Him as Ezra, I think will be very interesting. Sure. The Gina Carano thing has been such a weird thing. And thank you for bringing that up, because I didn't know the other parts that you guys had said about the fact that this was a long time coming, because that was great. As person, so there has been, what is y'all's thoughts on the fandom right now? Because I know you guys created the Jedi Way as a positive light in the midst of the darkness that was everything that brought about from the sequel trilogy and everything else pre-Mandalorian. And what are your thoughts of where, because there's a lot of negativity that has crept back into the fandom because of this, where and I'm gotta say that part of me as a fan of Star Wars, I'm a little darkened by it, because of the fact is that, like, it's just such a whether, I don't know if it's Lucasfilm, Disney, or what, they just can't seem to build on the positivity. I can't wait for Bad Batch, because I'm hoping it like brings another lightness to it. But I just want to hear y'all's thoughts on it.
Yeah, Laura, please.
I think that I've sort of secluded myself in a bubble of the Star Wars fandom. Like, the people that I follow on Twitter, that kind of negativity that people talk about all the time isn't something that comes across my feed very often. I honestly really do sort of live in like a virtual bubble in that sense. Just recently, I think like I was looking to sort of like, I wanted to see what other people were saying about the Gina Carano situation. And so I searched just in the Apple Podcasts app on my phone, and basically just saw every episode is just people defending her. And it was like one of those moments that I remembered, like, oh yeah, there's a whole nother side of the fandom that I don't ever see and don't ever interact with until they somehow find me, which they do on very rare occasions. But it's one of those things where you really have to find your own space in the Star Wars fandom. And for a lot of people, unfortunately, that's getting off of social media completely, because it can be really overwhelming and it can be overwhelmingly negative. And I totally understand and empathize with that experience. I've been at it long enough, and because my introduction into Star Wars fandom was through Star Wars Rebels and watching and live tweeting episodes along with other Star Wars Rebels fans, I sort of came into it in like a very positive bubble, and then just kind of expanded that as I got more interested in other Star Wars media. So it's hard work to try and find like who are the right people to follow and who aren't. Yeah. But if you're willing to put in the work, you can kind of end up in more of that more positive space than not.
Yeah. You know, one of the positives, and occasionally at times one of the negatives, is that my girlfriend's not into all the nerd stuff. Like, she's got her own thing. Cooking. She's very much a cooking nerd, that's for sure, a foodie nerd, but she's not really deep into all this stuff. So the other day we were driving and we were talking about the Gina Carano situation, and she was like, but I don't get it. How don't these Star Wars fans know that this is like the stuff she's saying is like against the essence of Star Wars? And I said, but that's the thing. These people don't. And the reason is because they think the Empire is the leftists. They think the Empire is the liberals. They think, so they don't see Star Wars the way we see Star Wars. They see the Nazi illusions and actually think of the other side as being the Nazis, the grammar Nazis, the PC Nazis, all of that stuff. And she just kind of sat back and she was just like, really? And I go, yeah, that's how they view it. That's what makes it difficult to find the common ground, because both sides think the other side is Darth Vader. The other side is the Emperor Palpatine. So that leads to the natural negative reactions that happen overall. And, you know, it's you can't control how someone views Star Wars. You can't control who's right and who's wrong. It's a subjective franchise, so it's a subjective medium. So some people are going to go one way or the other, but you hope you can find a middle ground. And I think Disney giving her 3 separate opportunities to pull back, and her ignoring it every time after assuring them that she would, if that's the actual case, which is being reported, that shows you they tried to find a middle ground here. They tried to get her to understand, look, you can believe what you want to believe. Just don't be so instigating in your beliefs. Don't make fun of people who are wearing masks. Don't, talk about the election fraud. That's a different situation. You know, there's a responsibility you have here. And apparently, she didn't want to do that. So in my mind, I think Disney did all they could to try to reach a middle ground with her. But in the end, she didn't want to. and they had to do what they had to do as the employer, and she's the employee. And so that leads to this negative back and forth. But I saw somebody in the chat saying, "You guys don't have all the facts." No, we're reporting the facts, pal. You just don't like the facts, and in the end, that's what leads to the negativity: is people believing something completely different and nefarious, and that's the unfortunate situation. Yeah.
Well, I just want to say to both of you, because I follow you both very much on social media, and I love you both on social media. So thank you very much for always bringing light and always being positive, wonderful people. So thank you so much, and keep doing the great work that you do. Thank you.
Well, there you go.
Thank you, Jason.
Great to see you, brother. Thank you. So awesome. All right, let's we got 2 more people waiting on us, and 50 Shades of Geek. What's up? Oh, he's dressed up. I love it.
Nice.
Hey, Laura.
Hello.
First of all, I'd like to apologize for my lack of originality, and I just wanted to echo exactly what Jason just said. Great match on last week. I mean, like I said, like Jason said, I love you both, Molly and you, and I think you did great in that match. You went perfect in a Star Wars match, and how often does that happen? I don't even think Alex Damon was able to pull that off recently. But here's something that I'm kind of upsets me a little bit. I think you're selling yourself a little too short. I don't think you're giving yourself enough credit in the post interviews. You're better than what you say you are, and I think you need to take that to heart. So far you've been the biggest challenge that Alex Damon has had since Sam Witwer.
Wow.
And you need to keep that in mind. You need to remember that. Just, that. And not to get to my actual question, is something there's the praising section of the visit, and then there's the actual question.
I respect it. Go ahead.
Thank you.
You're welcome. You deserve all the praise and more than all the praise you're not getting. Now, to the question, something that kind of interesting that I asked Mike Kalinowski on one of the stereo stuff, and I'm curious to hear what both of you have to say about this. Regarding, like Jason just said, the negativity on Star Wars, let me just say that it is hard being a Star Wars fan at this time. It is hard. I remember I watched Rise of Skywalker. I loved it. I mesmerized it. And I was mesmerized by the experience, and I loved it. Then I kind of pulled back, and I sat back and rewatched the movie, reevaluated it, and then I just put up a video on my channel, and I just said, look, I still love the movie, but I get the flaws of the movie, and it was the one and only Star Wars movie that I don't think I can legitimately defend. If you hate the movie for whatever reason, I'm not gonna, try to come up with excuses, as they say, to why I love it. I just know I love it, and if you don't like it for whatever reasons at all, that's perfectly acceptable. And I got this one guy that can, how could you possibly love this movie? And plot point this, plot point that. And I just think I think it's a situational thing, and it's something that's very cyclical. Like the prequels, when they came out, they also had this negativity. The Clone Wars movie, when that one came out, also a wave of negativity. Now people love both the prequels and Clone Wars. People can't stop talking about it. And I like to compare this situation to something that I know John knows nothing about. I don't know about you, but I like to compare it to something like Pokemon, which is also something that is generational, even more than Star Wars, I would argue, because every 3-4 years, there's a new game, a new generation. That's how they're classifying it. Generation 1, Generation 2, and all that. Back in the day, Generation 5 of Pokemon was the most hated generation of all. And now we're finally getting into that moment where the people who played it as kids are now loving it and defending it, and it's the best in the franchise in their opinion. Now we're at Generation 8. Now it's this generation's turn to be the most hated, and people make hour-long videos about why that those games are terrible and all that. Same thing with Star Wars. And I think 10 years from now, people are going to have a completely different tune. And I think that's exactly what's going to happen with the sequel trilogy. One day, I don't know how long it's going to have to take for that to happen. And when I was talking with Kalinowski about this, he said that the majority of the people who hate the sequel trilogy aren't the ones that watched the original trilogy back when that one came out. He says that according to him, the majority of those people are the ones that were in the early 90s where there was no Star Wars movies, but they had the books and the comics and that stuff. Those are the particular ones that he has noticed have a problem with the sequel trilogy. And as someone who's, you said yourself, is relatively recent to Star Wars, you said that your introduction was Rebels. How do you see the situation, and do you think that, like me, the situation will be different in, say, 4, 5, 10 years from now?
Well, I certainly, I don't like to think that I can empathize with the people who are like hardcore sequel trilogy haters, because that sucks. Like, why bring that kind of negativity to anything? If you don't like it, like, just say you don't and back out of the room. You don't have to linger and scream about it for 4 years. But I think that when I think about like Star Wars Rebels being my introduction to Star Wars, and I think about the possibility that someday Lucasfilm could be like, you know what? Everything that we did from 2010 to 2020, we're just going to erase that from the canon. And that's going to be like Legends 2. And so if Star Wars Rebels was suddenly then not part of the canon, I would have a huge problem with that. Like, that would be really devastating for me to hear. So if coming from that point of view, and all of those people who grew up with those novels that took place after Return of the Jedi, and they had a very clear idea of what happens after the original trilogy, I can kind of feel for them a little bit in that sense. Like, yes, you went into the sequel trilogy with expectations, and I can understand how it might be hard to get around that. Because even like going into The Last Jedi and going into Rise of Skywalker after seeing Force Awakens, I had expectations. We all sat around and theorized about what was happening in the trailers and what was happening in all the image stills that we were getting. So you naturally are going to go in with expectations. But if you're talking about like years, if not over a decade, of expectations of what you thought it should be because you already knew what the story was and what happened, that would be really hard to get around. Yeah. So in that sense, I kind of get it.
Yeah, I think it's all and look, I love my brother Kalinowski. I'm not going to say anything negative to him, but I also think if you haven't interviewed the entire fandom, you can't say majority or minority one way or the other about how people feel about something. You can sense that you feel that way, but you don't know for sure if the reason these people had is because a majority of them didn't watch one thing or another. That's a separate situation in terms of analyzing that. But for me personally, we've seen patterns, though. You can study patterns, consistent patterns, right? There were people who loved the original trilogy who other people made fun of for loving that nerdy shit, that Star Wars shit, that nerdy shit. Now, as it got into the prequel trilogy, those people had become older and had gone back and maybe started to love it and revisited it. And then maybe we got to the point where we got to the sequel trilogy and the prequel trilogy. The prequel trilogy, people came after. The original trilogy people came after it. So there were articles and reviews and all of that. And amongst my friends, I can't say it was a majority. It certainly felt that way, but I can't speak knowledgeably about that. But amongst my friends, it felt like we hated this prequel trilogy. It wasn't that good. And it was really only a couple of battle scenes that kind of won us over, the Darth Maul battle scene and then the final battle scene on Mustafar that kind of are the things we need to talk about from that area. But those people who loved it as children came of age, and they've made the Star Wars fandom reevaluate the prequel trilogies. And from that came Clone Wars. From that came all these novels and comic books and all that. That's kind of changed our perception. The Ahsoka Tano, all of that changes our perception of the prequel trilogy. Now we come to the sequel trilogy. The kids who love it, the young people who love are enjoying the sequel trilogy, because remember, the original trilogy people, most of them were children or in their teens who fell in love with it. Now those sequel trilogy people, once they come of age in 10 years, 15 years, don't be surprised that we'll be reevaluating the sequel trilogy, because they will be the loud young voices in the room who are going to make people stand up and take notice and reevaluate this thing. So those are patterns. And so to me, I would not be surprised if down the road that's what happens, 50 Shades. I think that's just always been the case with Star Wars. So,
yeah, and what I hope doesn't happen are the kids that are now loving the sequel trilogy, and 10 years from now, like you said, they'll be the louder voices defending those sequel trilogies. Yeah. What I hope doesn't happen is that those people, once there's going to be another new Star Wars stuff, they're going to be the ones hating it. That's what I don't want to happen. Like I said,
patterns,
to bring it back. Yeah. I know, but that's what I'm saying. I hope that doesn't happen. Like, to bring it back to the Pokemon stuff.
Right.
Again, the Gen 5 fans, those are the ones that are now saying that Gen 5 is the best one, when back in the day when it came out, people were saying it's the worst.
Right.
Now everyone's ragging on Gen 8, as I mentioned. I just hope that people like me, well, I'm a Gen 1 guy, but I love all of them. So I understand why some people only stick to one particular side of the fandom and say that this is the only side that matters. I never understood that mentality. But what I hope is...
I think it's wisdom, 50 Shades. The older people look back at it and have a little more perspective. The younger people are still full of piss and vinegar, so they're going to defend their points of views and go at it, blah, 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 because you got that energy to fight when you're in your 20s. When you get to be older, pal, it takes too much out of you, so you have a little more perspective, and you sit back on it all and have a different point of view. So hopefully the older Star Wars fans will be the ones saying, hey, let's slow down. Let's create space for people to like whatever they want to like, because in the end, why should someone tell you to hate something? That seems ridiculous. If you get joy out of it and you learn the lessons from it and it influences your life in a positive way, no one should take that away from you. No one should be allowed to take that away from you overall. So, yeah.
I agree.
Yeah. Anything more you got? Or we got two more people waiting to come in, brother. Are we good?
No. Just may the force be with you both.
Oh, thanks, Mr. Shades. You too, brother.
Thank you.
Great to see you. All right, we got a couple of Streamlabs that have come through as well, Laura. Let's get to those real quick. Kay Walton says, do you think we might see Barriss Offee in the Bad Batch or find out what happened to her? She is supposedly still out there, Laura. What do you think?
I always forget that. So I really haven't given it much thought, but I would welcome that 100%. I think that'd be really cool. I always kind of wondered, I forget that she's not dead. For some reason, like in my mind, I always just kind of assume that that's where she ended up. But no, I think I would love to find out what happened to her. And I would also love to find out, how did she find out about Luminara Unduli and what happened to her? Because her whole ending to the Clone Wars in Order 66 was sort of left a mystery, that we then sort of got some more information in Rebels later. But I would love to see Barriss again. I thought she was a really cool character, super compelling and, complex. So I think that would be a fun one to bring back. I just wonder if like the limited amount of episodes we're going to get with Bad Batch, if they're going to take the time to fit something like that in. It doesn't sound like something that would be focused on Force users. I think they're going to really kind of dig into their 5 or 6 core members. But I think that she would be a fun one to revisit. Maybe in a book or something would be great to see what she's up to.
I can see that. Absolutely. Do you think we'll get that voiceover like we had in Clone Wars? Do you think we'll get that? Meanwhile, on Kamino, do you think we'll get something like that? Or do you think it'll be completely different for Bad Batch?
Oh, I hadn't given that any thought either. I bet we do. I bet we do get it. Okay. Although I think, wasn't it Tom Kane that was doing those intros? Yes. And I think that he's been battling illness recently, unfortunately. So it's too bad that it sounds like it probably wouldn't be coming from him. Or like with the animated series, Laura, he might have recorded it a year ago. We don't know, Touche.
So that's possible. We should see. We'll see. I'd like it to not have a narrator and just be that, just present it and let us enjoy the episodes from there. But that's, just my point of view. All right. Connie donated. Thank you, Connie. She said, I've always been a casual Star Wars fan, but I got more into it because of The Mandalorian. Watching this show has been a great education. You guys are a great duo. Sending love and support. Oh, well, thank you, Connie.
Thank you, Connie. That's always really delightful to hear that The Mandalorian has reached out to people and brought them more into the Star Wars. That makes me really happy. I love that.
Absolutely. And if you're getting any education on the show, it's from Laura Kelly. It's not from me. I'm just having fun hanging out, co-hosting the show with Laura for sure. And thank you, Connie, very kindly. Oh, yeah. Teddy Holiday sent a super chat in as well. Let me get it up here. All right. Teddy Holiday said, people try to bring up Pascal's quote unquote Nazi tweet compared to Gina's. The big difference is Pedro stopped tweeting that stuff when Disney warned him. That's true. That's very true. But there were actually children in cages. He was making a connection to something that was actually happening versus versus what Gina was doing with her Instagram post, which was speculating. And I think that's where the danger lies. But yes, he did stop. Any thoughts on this super chat here, Laura?
No, I think that you make a good point. I don't think it was the only reason that he stopped, but I'm sure that's, I imagine that had something to do with it.
Right. But Teddy, that's an awesome logo, by the way, on your or picture profile picture. That is a kick-ass profile picture of Vision, my man.
For sure.
I love that. All right, let's see. We got one more person waiting to come in live. Enzo. What's up, Enzo? How are you, man? How are things?
Hello. It is a pleasure and honor to meet both of you.
Hi, Enzo.
I've been following John Rocha for the longest time, especially during 2020.
Oh, thank you.
Nice.
I would just like to say thank you so much for helping me keep sane during these crazy times.
It's my honor, brother. It's my honor. Please.
Bouncing off from the last guy said, I agree that this is both the most exciting time and the divisive time to be a Star Wars fan. It's somewhat still exciting, but at the same time, I'm always nervous to express some excitement because I feel like people from both sides might shoot me down. I don't know.
Oh, okay.
I think that's a very, understandable fear that anybody has when especially when you first like enter any kind of fandom space, be it on social media or even like in person. Like even at conventions, I'm nervous to talk to people because I'm like, I don't know what your history is. I don't know how you feel about the sequels, and I don't know if I want to find out in person. So I totally understand that sentiment 100%. But yeah, it's really all about finding the safe spaces. Like if finding a Discord channel with someone like Utini where they talk about Star Wars books, that's a very positive, safe place, and there's all kinds of places like that all over the internet. So I think it's important to find the space that really works for you. And it may not be Twitter because Twitter is a hellscape sometimes.
Yeah.
Right.
But yeah, I'm sorry that you feel that way because I hate the idea of like, that there are fans out there that I haven't had an opportunity to talk to because they're just too afraid to express an opinion of something that they really liked. So yeah, I hope that you, and if that's the case, that's totally fine. But if you want to take that jump, I hope you do it.
Yeah, like I've always believed that I really like the sequel trilogy, but we obviously know what the response to at least the last two movies were, that they were very divisive, especially with the Last Jedi. I've always really liked the Last Jedi, but every time I talk about it, people will always like again scream their opinions really loudly. I'm like, oh, okay, I see where we stand.
Right.
There are things we can agree on that is good in the movie, and there are things we can agree on that is bad. But some of the complaints I find ridiculous, like it ruined Star Wars, like, and I don't think it did.
Yeah. Well, I think what you negotiate in those moments, and so, and of course, it's always up to you. It's a subjective situation or a personal situation. Is how much weight you want to give to the people who are expressing negative opinions about the things that you love. If you love it and you're strong in loving it, then their opinions shouldn't matter to you at all, my friend. You should just be, okay, that's your opinion. That's cool. I still love it, and I'm still going to defend it. If you want to tune them out or stop them from bringing in the toxicity or trying to ruin your enjoyment of it, you have every right to do that for yourself as an individual and as a human being. And that's kind of how you can keep positivity around. Doesn't mean you can't hear other points of views, but there's a way to present other points of views that lead to conversation, and there are ways to present other points of views that lead to division. And that's what we try to be here in the show, is conversations. That's what's important, so we can achieve understanding on both sides of it, no matter who's feeling what on what point of view. And so maybe that's something that you can kind of, for yourself, have the conversation for yourself about how much of that negativity you really want to expose yourself to, because you seem like a sweet dude, and I would hate to think anybody would ruin something that you enjoy and want to enjoy so purely from a cynical point of view. You know what I'm saying?
All right. Lastly, I would like to ask, is there anyone you would like to see replace Gina Carano as Cara Dune? Because in my mind, I would like to see, I don't know if I can pronounce her name right, Jocelyn Mettler. I believe she was like the video capture actress, for The Last of Us 2, and I think physically she fits the role of her, and I'm not sure acting wise, but I think if she was standing next to the cast of The Mandalorian, she would be a really good fit.
Okay. What do you think, Laura? Do you have anything? I mean, I think we joked about Lucy Lawless online, but is there anyone else that you kind of had up in your mind as a possibility?
I've seen other people talk about Lucy Lawless. That wasn't just us.
True.
It's come up several times. Unfortunately, I don't know the name of the actress, but the show Once Upon a Time, there's an actress that looks very, very much like Gina Carano in the face. They've got pretty different body types, but facial wise, they're really, really close. And so obviously she's already in the Disney family since she was on ABC's Once Upon a Time, but so she might be an easy one to pull into that sort of space, I think. But that's one that I keep seeing, and I keep thinking, like, that seems like a no-brainer. If she's available at all, like, that seems like the best option to go with, because that's the closest thing I've seen to somebody who, like, I think it was Game of Thrones. They replaced like a sort of side character between two seasons. The two actors looked almost nothing alike, and they may have been like different ethnicities. And nobody complained or cared. Like, it wasn't a big deal. So I kind of feel like you could really easily recast the role. Like, I kind of hope that they do. Fingers crossed.
Yeah, I've seen a lot of people mention Megan Fox, which I don't think is the route to go in my personal opinion. But I've seen. I mean, Adrian Palicki is an interesting situation. You speak about series that have come before and good actresses in the series. She certainly made her bones on Friday Night Lights, and she had an unfortunate Wonder Woman pilot. She was in the John Wick movie. She's a tough actress. She can do action sequences. She doesn't look a lot like Gina Carano, but people were able to forgive Terrence Howard not being Don Cheadle. Literally a foot difference, darker skin, body type completely different. But people were like, F it. It's a side character. We like this character. Let's go with it. We love Don Cheadle. So maybe they can find an actress that kind of fits that vibe. Doesn't physically have to necessarily look like Gina Carano, but they could go another route. And I think fans would be like, great, I get to love Cara Dune all over again. Because, regardless of what happened off camera, people loved Cara Dune as a character. And so to have her taken away, I think a lot of people are hurt by that and feel sad that they won't get to enjoy this character again. So the recasting, although it's just a source from Lucasfilm to THR, they didn't verify, they didn't say it was 100% true. Doesn't mean that's the route they're going to go, that they're just not going to recast her. But then again, I could see it because remember, Favreau said this, he named her Cara Dune after Gina Carano. That's why he used her last name, Cara Carano, as the basis for the name. So it would be tough to replace her with someone else. But anything's possible. That's what I would say.
Right.
Cool.
Thank you to the both of you. And from the Philippines, I say, may the force be with you.
Thank you,
Enzo. You too.
Much love, brother. Much love. Let's see. We got a couple of super chats that came through, and we'll get to your match here after that. Emily Benoit said, if I missed the Gina convo, sorry getting in late. Trans rights are human rights. Looking forward to watching the replay. Love the show and both of you. Laura?
Thank you, Emily. Yeah, no, that was one of the funniest things I think I did see about the Gina Carano interview is that there was a fundraiser that started a while back for the Trans Rights Law Center. Yes. And that was started by a group of fans. And I think Gina Carano made a comment in that interview saying that was started by somebody who works at Lucasfilm, by like a creative executive or something. And so, yeah, that was the running joke yesterday, was people going to those people and being like, can you get me a job if you're a Lucasfilm creative executive? Like, that's pretty cool. Like, that was not at all, unless there was something internally that was going on at Lucasfilm where some people internally got together and started a fundraiser. That was a separate thing than what people, the group of fans did for the Trans Rights Law Center. So yeah, thank you for the comment, Emily. 100% agreed. Trans rights are human rights. And I think that I'm really, really hoping that the stance that Lucasfilm took on this situation and the stance that they took on the Christina Ariel situation, where they actually spoke out against the racism that she was facing, I think we're moving in a new direction.
Yeah,
we're we're heading in the right direction with Lucasfilm finally speaking out about these things.
Yeah.
So I'm glad that we're seeing that. I hope that continues.
Yeah, and so many of the studios issued those statements about the attacks on Asian Americans, Laura. We saw that all over their Twitter and their social media. I agree with you. I think on the heels of a new Blue Beetle being cast with a Latino lead, Sasha Calle being cast as Supergirl in the Flash movie, we're seeing more openness from the younger generation for a multicultural world. And I hope that gives me so much hope for where we're going. Yes, the madness of it all is the battles and all of that, but there's a movement happening from the grassroots up of the youth, and they're the ones that are buying things. They're the ones that studios want to grab. And so if the studios are reacting to their needs by creating a more multicultural approach to entertainment and a more understanding and willingness to speak out when injustice is occurring, that leaves me with a very positive hope for the future going forward for the generations to come and the entertainment we're going to get to come as well. Thank you, Emily, for that comment. Justin Toner says, hi, John, Laura. First, congrats, Laura. Your Schmoedown performance last week was rooting for you. I still have a lot of reading to catch up on, but how has the High Republic stuff been so far? Laura?
Unfortunately, Justin, I'm in the same boat. I was really sad to have to put down Light of the Jedi because I had started reading it because I was going to put off reading it because I was having to prepare for the match and I was using every moment I had to study. But then when the book came out and everybody was talking about it, I felt left out and I wanted to read it. And so I started reading it. I probably got a third of the way through it before I was just like, you need to stop. You really need to stop and you need to focus on the movies and you can come back to this. So we've talked about it a lot on Force Toast because Alice has kept up with it pretty closely and she made a lot of, she was very clear, you really, really, really should start with Light of the Jedi. There are 3 High Republic books out right now. I think the comics are starting to come out too, but to sort of really build the foundation, start with Light of the Jedi. Because I was tempted to start with the middle grade book first, since it's I figured it would be a quicker read. And even she's like, you won't appreciate it as much, I don't think, unless you read Light of the Jedi first. So yeah, I've gotten to come back to Light of the Jedi by Charles Soule, and I am about halfway through it. I'm doing it on audio, which is really interesting. The villain of the book, Marcion Rowe, is one of the Nihil, and it's a particularly interesting take in the audiobook on the characters. So yeah, I'm really enjoying it. I'm looking forward to diving into the rest of it soon. Because yeah, unfortunately, I haven't been able to really either.
Yeah, me either. I'm still working towards through a certain point of view. Empire Strikes Back. I will be getting that because I also got Into the Dark, and then I got the newest Alphabet Squadron sitting out there for me to read as well. So I'm behind, ladies and gentlemen, but I will catch up. And my Schmoedown days start up real soon, so I'll have to catch up soon on the reading so I can jump into my training as well. And like they said, there's 2 Star Wars tournaments. So just letting you know, there's 2 Star Wars tournaments. Damon, or maybe Laura. I don't care who has the belt. If I win that tournament, it would shock the world. Movie Fanobi says, how about that Star Wars win? Congrats, Laura. Proud, and you kicked. Beep. I hope you're both well. Bye, Gina. She had opportunity to boost her outreach. Don't have to be an angel, just not an a-hole. I'll take Cobb Vanth. Okay. Yeah, replacing. Yeah, I guess so. That could go that route too. Yeah. Laura, so let's get into it, Laura, as we wrap up the show here. Phenomenal match with you and Molly. What was your process for you going in? Were you confident? Were you nervous? You've done so much studying. You were 1 question away from beating Ace. You just missed 1 question that cost you in that match, and you went perfect this time around. Did you feel more comfortable? Because there had been such a gap between your match in Chicago and then your next match, and then you were in that tournament. Did this go around make you feel a little more relaxed as you were playing?
Yeah, this was certainly the most relaxed I've ever felt in a match. It was kind of nice. And I mean, maybe it was like, I literally was sitting back with my feet up. Like, I was like super chilled out for the whole time. And I kind of thought that my legs were going to fall asleep and then I would have to kind of readjust my whole position. But, it worked out. But my process was kind of the same as it always is. We got the heads up about this match a long time ago.
Yes,
true. I think it was around it must have been around Thanksgiving, maybe. So I had a lot of heads up that it was going to be coming. I had tons of time to prepare. I started panicking a little bit in the weeks leading up to the match because I think maybe I might have had too much time to prepare. And I had like started with the prequels, and then I was in like a study session with some people, and they were asking me prequels questions, and I was like, I don't remember any of this. Like, I don't. So I need to maybe revisit these. And so I did. This was a different process actually for me this time, because what I ended up doing, because I have so much vacation time built up from not using it last year, is I took 3 days off of work, the Wednesday, Thursday, Friday before the match. I went to a hotel and stayed in a hotel for 3 nights. And eliminated all distractions, because I was like, I also kind of hit like a breaking point where I'm just like, I need a change of scenery. Yeah. We have had snow here for 10 straight days. It has snowed 10 straight days in a row. Right, it's awful. I just needed to get out of the walls of my apartment. It's really hard to get out and go outside when there's that much snow on the ground. So this was, I had a reason to go down to my office. And so from there, I went and like stayed in one of like, also the nice thing about the pandemic, at least in Chicago, is you can get like 5-star hotels for like 2-star prices. Like you can get really good deals now. And yeah, I eliminated all distractions essentially. And I just sat in a room and studied. I watched some of the movies. I didn't watch all of them, but I had like 2 to 3 movies every day that I crammed on. Wow. And that my cram sessions are really the thing that I think gives me the edge. Like, you know, I can spend X amount of days in December preparing for a match that's in February, but it's really going back and reviewing every single thing that I have. Maybe not every single thing, most of the things that I have, and like my study guides to prepare. So yeah, that's where I was. It was a different process. It's always a little bit different every time I have to prepare for this match. And I was pretty confident going into it. I was feeling really good.
Wow. All right. Well, Chicago area hotels, she might have a championship match coming up soon. So, you know, block out a week for her, for God's sakes. That's incredible. Lori, as committed as I've been, and I'm one of the first people that started studying for the Schmoedown, I never knew it would get to that level where you can just rent out a hotel room. But you know what? I understand the logic. It makes so much sense to me. No distractions, no one bothering you. We hear about writers all the time renting hotel rooms so they can finish off scripts and sit there all day and all night writing a script and typing it all up. So why wouldn't studying for a match make the same kind of difference? You know, we say, who was it? Tom Brady. Tom Brady did not allow Gisele Bündchen near him for 2 weeks while he trained for the Super Bowl. So people train for the things in certain ways that mean something to them. So that's fascinating. One last question. What did you learn anything about yourself as a competitor coming out of this match versus other matches? And I guess an addendum to that, what was it like to, kind of play your friend Molly? I mean, you have so much respect for what her and Alex have done on Star Wars Explained. It must have been a joy and slightly intimidating, but certainly a joy to play her as well.
Yeah, it was really fun getting to play Molly. It's always kind of hard because especially when you play somebody that you really like, that the way that it ends when it's them missing the question, it's like that's always hard. I mean, that breaks your heart because like I've been in that situation. Like at Spectacular when I played Alex, like I was sort of in that situation where he didn't even have to answer his 5-pointer because I, missed what I missed. And so that's what really broke my heart. And because I was, you want to be as prepared as you can, but you can only prepare for so many things. Yeah. And you spend so much time preparing for the 5-pointers that it's really easy to kind of go back and miss a stupid question like how old is Anakin in The Phantom Menace? Like, and I remember going into this match and also thinking like, I wonder what stupid question I wonder what stupid answer I'm going to give on some random 1-pointer question this match. And that's going to just like put me over the edge, unfortunately. But I'm glad it didn't happen. I felt really good about how this one went. And it was overall, it was really great. There were a lot of reasons that I sort of felt for Molly. That question about Admiral Raddus, then she answered Admiral Gorin. I got that question in a virtual trivia like sometime in the last 6 months. Mm-hmm. And I did the same thing. It was almost the exact same question. And I did the same thing that she did. Wow. So I was really close to asking for a repeat on that one, but I'm like, no, I know I've messed this up before, so I know what to do this time. There's also one question that asks about what Anakin dreamt that he was when he came back and freed all the slaves. And I wrote down the wrong answer and erased it and fixed it.
Oh, yeah. Because she said Jedi Knight and you said Jedi. I thought there was going to be, because I mean, you know how anal it can be in the IG and Star Wars division. I thought there was going to be a challenge there that didn't occur. You both got the points. Also, she said southern in the South, and you said southern region for one of those answers as well. And I thought that was an interesting delineation when you compare those two questions, how to approach them. But that's the thing that I marvel about when I watch. By the way, I answered a few of those correctly, which I was surprised by. And I marvel at the, yeah, right. Please. I marvel at how well you all are schooled in the IG and in the Star Wars stuff, because it is just insane to remember such minutia about these films. That your notes must be stacks high, or yay high on each of these movies. So just incredible, for sure.
Yeah, it's a lot of material to go through every time to prepare. Yeah, I feel for like the people who don't get a ton of heads up about their matches, for especially in Star Wars. That's a tough pill to swallow, because it's really easy to go into them thinking you know everything you need to know. But I'm like, if I only got a couple of days or a couple of weeks even to prepare, I would be panicking.
Yeah. Well, we look forward to see what you do now, Laura. You're moving on to take on the champion, whoever that may be. I don't know if it's going to be a triple threat match. I don't know if it's going to be, we're going to find out with Damon and Dibalanta if they're just playing themselves, and then you'll play the winner. But either way, you've earned your stripes and you've earned your shot, and that's all anybody could ask for. And you certainly looked very confident. And I picked you, by the way, in the stereo conversation with Christian earlier that afternoon. So no surprise to me that you won this thing. Now it's like, let's see what you got, because I think you are more prepared than you've ever been to take on whoever the champion is. So it will be formidable. It will be formidable, and I can't wait to see that match for sure. And of course, I think the whole Jedi Way community will be cheering you on. All right. Well, thanks everybody for watching this episode of the Jedi Way. We're going to wrap it up here. Really appreciate all of you who came in live. We got over 200 likes. So thank you so much. Great to see that from all of you. Thanks to Sean Barreto for producing for us today and keeping the chat civil, which you sometimes with the Gina Carano question, I was worried it might not get civil. So I appreciated Sean doing all that. Laura, it was great to host the show with you again today. It was great to see you. It's been a while. Please tell the people what you got going on everywhere they can find you and what you're doing.
Sure. Come find me at my the audio only podcast that I do with my friend Alice, where we drink wine and talk about Star Wars. That show is Forced Toast, a Star Wars happy hour. You can find me on Twitter at @shutup_Laura. And this coming Saturday, I'm going to be part of the live table read for the sequel to Solo, a Star Wars story written by artificial intelligence.
Nice.
That's Saturday, February 27th, I think, at 5 p.m. Central Time. And that's on the Blue Bantha Milk Company channel, YouTube channel. So check that out, because the first one that they did was for Star Wars Episode 10, written by AI, and it was really, really fun and really funny. So I'm looking forward to actually getting to be a part of it this time.
Well, I think they're in the chat. So yeah, you just got here, but much love. You got a little plug there. So there you go. Good stuff. Yeah, definitely watch that this weekend. That sounds like a lot of fun. And you know, people trying to make that Solo 2 happen. Why not? Have a little fun with that. You can always find me at The Rocha Says on Twitter and on Instagram. Please remember to subscribe to the channel as well. We're so close to crossing 16,000 subscribers. I know other people have way more, but we're the channel that could, and I appreciate all the love you've given us. So please go ahead and follow us and subscribe to the channel. And don't forget about our WandaVision reviews. We drop every Saturday from the Geek Buddies. Emma Fife sitting in with us to break down WandaVision. We've had such a great time on those, getting almost 20,000 views on every one of the last few episodes of it. So thank you all so much for being a part of that. All right, we're going to get on out of here. And you guys make sure you take care of yourselves, practice social distancing, wear your masks, and be well. Laura, what do we have to tell them?
Until next time, remember, your focus determines your reality.